Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to another Morning Coffee Talks. So I wanted to do a follow-up video in regards of the reference of the 80% of church being, in the black church anyway, being women. And if you've seen that video, I was like, man, I needed a little bit more information on it as far as to get more clarity on it, on why that may be. And man, I had a great conversation with my father-in-law last night, and he gave me some perspective as well as me doing my own research. And again, it's just, I think for me, based on information, what it came down to is just church is just not, it's just not what it used to be, right? It's just not what it used to be. I think more, especially up to where we are now, it looks more like a concert than a place of spiritual growth, right? And for a lot of men, I think that shift was not the final straw, but definitely one of the things that kind of broke the levee, right? And so I really want to unpack that, kind of like a small timeline to kind of see a point when we can kind of see the shift. Not that it hasn't been shifting already, but when it was like the first visual of the shift up until where we are now. And I think this can kind of shed light on why so many men have left, and also husbands. So one of the things, if we look back in the 60s, right, I think this could have been at least one of the actual viewpoints of when the shift started to happen intentionally, right? I think one of the parts is, women entering the workforce. This was definitely a part where many men started to be kind of devalued in the job market, which created less economic power, which created less authority at home, right? And again, a lot of men, and we're going to get there as well, but a lot of men weren't already in the church that much because, again, we was out working. A lot of them was going to the war. And it was just wasn't, it wasn't the biggest thing for us to do, and not like intentional, like we didn't want to go, right? I just think that majority of us was working a lot. And at that time, again, women just started entering the workforce. So many of them, before they was in the workforce, that would be something they would do as far as, seeing other women and just having a place where they can have communion, right, and community. And so I think even with that, we can start to see the shift in church leadership, kind of more emotional focus and less mission focus for men. And so moving on with that, another part was we started seeing more of the media messaging of, hey, you don't need a man, right? And you start to see that kind of permeate in the music, the movies, talk shows was glorifying independence, and it caused a situation where it said, it made men feel more optional. And in the church, for the men who were going, often felt invisible, like it wasn't really for them, which is incredible because if we know anything about, well, let me just say this, RIP to my uncle, I always say this. He was a preacher and here in Atlanta, and he used to always say, man, church, get your house in order. And when he said that, it was like, God, the husband, the wife, kids, right? And it's just interesting that in the Christian church, that's not viewed that way. And that's why it's 80% women. But on the flip side, when it comes to the Muslim, it's the total opposite, right? 80% of men who still participate. And I think that, again, I'm not to say that I agree with their messaging 100%, but I think their viewpoint on where men stand, they hold firm on that, right? And so, again, just my opinion on it. But yeah, in the Christian side of it, I think that, yeah, it's still, even though that's kind of the order of things, it's not really preached like that, if that makes sense. But again, being that men were outside the church working, again, long hours, because remember in the 60s, women just really started in their workforce. So it's still with men who was in the workforce was the sole providers for the home. So they still working long hours. Again, around this time we in war. And again, the women at that time built a community around church, which is nothing wrong with that, right? It's a beautiful thing. But I think that kind of stuck. And as we went on and church started to rebrand itself, kind of shift itself in a different way, that kind of left men without a clear role, right? We started to see, women go into ministry in a sense of having more roles of power, right? They started to get into roles of preaching, and when I was coming up, that really wasn't a thing. And not saying that women can't preach, right? But that wasn't a thing. And so I think that at that point, it's kind of like another viewpoint is men feel like, and yeah, men feeling like, and that's just the mentality. Again, I'm not saying all men have this mentality, but the mentality of a woman leading them, right? Because now the woman's in the pulpit, she's speaking the word of God, which for a lot of men, they like, wait a minute, that's not the order of things, right? But that's what we are. And so, like I said, I think being that that's where the trend line was going, again, men started to leave, and the men who stayed, a lot of them felt like they didn't really have a clear role. And again, I'm not saying this for all churches, right? But we can see it often in many churches. And this is why the numbers are down, right? And so I think another part of that is um, it went kind of from worship to concert in the modern church. Light shows, smoke machine, kind of this emotionalism over structure, right? Men, we want a mission, not just a mood, right? We want purpose, not just performance. And I think church began to have a space where many men felt like it just wasn't for them anymore. It was like, yeah, we kind of like put y'all in this corner, but now it's totally for the women. And so you can kind of see, even like I said, now how the designs of the church are, the layouts, the different roles and positions that's being catered to. And so, again, this is what, for the men who were left, it seemed like it just made it even dwindle down even more in that percentage. And so, lastly, I wanted to save this one for last because this is what, again, brings it to my channel when it comes to the husband code. What does this mean for marriage, right? If a husband isn't spiritually present, for me, I feel like the household is out of order. It's just out of order, and out of balance. And many women are married but alone when it comes to faith. And if that is the case, then that faith, and again, let me make sure I'm clear on this. The faith divide, being that that's what it is. The faith divide is tearing families apart then, and silently. Because every time that man, he feels like, hey, this is my viewpoint on what's going on, and that wife goes out to church and she's being included in that, and it's like, well, hey, we just here for you women, not for the man. The man can't have his house in order when it comes to the faith. So I think we have to figure out how to, I don't know if it's a way to bring it back in that manner, right? Where for the Christian faith anyway, the men kind of place themselves back in the role of that particular leadership, right? I don't know if they want to. I don't know if the church is too far gone when it comes, because now it's not, whereas I feel everybody's working, so it's not the old traditional ways of this is what kind of helped transpire it to where it is now, as far as men working, men going to war, right? They the sole providers. everything on equal playing field now. So it may just be too far gone as far as why men probably won't come back. But this is where I come in, right? This is where I come in because I think that my channel is not solely about religion. It's not, right? It's about helping men because especially we know now that men feel devalued in society. They feel alone, isolated. They feel less than, and I can go on and on, right? They just feel like they have checked out of society. But I say that to say, on some level, I was there, right? But that was because I wasn't taking accountability and responsibility for my life. Yes, we can sit here and point fingers. Yes, we can sit here and blame society on a situation where we're not being pedestalized, and not put in the spotlight at the forefront as the leaders in our community, right? But the only way to role reverse that and for us to start putting ourselves back in a position of strength to be able to lead, we have to start with ourselves. We have to fix ourselves, right? Because we have been, society has, I don't want to say attacked us, but society has pushed our role down on the back burner, right? And so it's on us to pull ourselves up. And again, this is where I come in because this is what part of my channel is about. Yes, the pillars of it is, personal growth, leadership, and marriage. All that, right, encompasses the structure of manhood and us getting back to a point. And this is me just bringing value to that realm of men, right, who feel lost, right? No matter your age, if you're starting and you're young, no matter if you're older, you're like, man, I just feel lost out here. I need a community where I can tap in and figure out how to get myself back to being a man, right? Or if you're young, hey, I don't know how to be a man, right? I didn't have a father or the men around me didn't know. This is a community for that. And we're slowly building it. And I'm slowly integrating things to make sure that I meet the needs of that. And so I just wanted to say, hey, drop a comment below. Welcome to the Husband Code. If it's your first time, I welcome you. If you've been watching for a while, I welcome you. And also, if you got any value from this video, hit the like button. Again, man, we are growing like crazy. We're growing like crazy. I think many men, also even women, are starting to resonate with this message. And again, this isn't all about religion and stuff like this, but this is about, building men up to be the best version of themselves and take accountability for their life. And so, like I said, with that, I appreciate y'all. Much love. Peace.